When I hear about something new, I'll often do a gut check and more often than not, jump on it. Sometimes the execution on my part hasn't been the best and the result not that stellar. But I think some of the disappointments have now been redeemed. Spontaneity is why this edition is late. I heard something and jumped. Just an aside, this newsletter came about because I wanted to test something. I was creating a post on LinkedIn and a prompt asked if I wanted to turn it into a newsletter. I thought, why not? Let's see if LinkedIn will promote this to more people than a regular post. For me, the answer was overwhelmingly yes, according to the numbers the next day. Jumping in and testing is why this newsletter is called Thoughts by Fran, which in retrospect seems rather egotistical. But I was pushed to come up with something on the spot, and that's the best that I could do at the time. The past couple of weeks, I have been thinking a lot about rest and recharging. I had family from overseas staying with me last month. We all had a blast traveling around the East Coast. I felt that I had enjoyed a good break, and I didn't foresee that, rather spontaneously, I'd find myself on a plane to Hawaii shortly after they left. A dear friend of mine who had experienced great loss and a lot of living for others for several years wanted some time to get away from it all and focus on nourishing her soul. She messaged me. She was going to Hawaii. I said a quick prayer, and yes, she wanted a travel partner. So we found ourselves in Hawaii with not much of a plan other than where we were going to lay our heads for the night. There's a completely different dynamic when you go away without your husband or kids, and I can't think of a better place or a better person to have taken that break with than Paula. Whenever you go to a new place, you soak up the sights and the sounds, you compare how that place is to where you live and other places you've been. There was such a lot of that going on, Hawaii versus North Carolina and Maryland. Oahu is truly spectacular. I can't even count the number of TV shows and movies that I've seen it in, but I was not prepared for how lush and otherworldly it is. I remember being a kid, about 5 or 6, in London, watching Hawaii Five-0 with my dad, thinking about how one day I would see in person what I was watching on the screen. Yes, it's been a bucket list item for a long time. And checking it off came together really fast with so little planning that it was pretty miraculous that Paula and I called it a God thing. The first day I sat on Waikiki Beach for hours, staring at the ocean and watching lots of people boogie boarding because the waves weren't big enough for surfing. I was just mesmerized by it all, especially how much enjoyment everybody was so naturally having in the water. I've been to lots of beaches, but most of them are just places where people lay, soaking in the sun and cooling off in the water every now and then. But Hawaii was different. Poke became my new favorite food. I was wondering, could I actually overdose on this stuff? Sadly, I wasn't there long enough to find out. And then there was Jurassic Valley. Jurassic Park, 30 years old, are you kidding me? The breathtaking location where it was filmed was my only true must-see while I was there. However, the reality is that I would have been okay if I couldn't make it to Kualoa Ranch, because the general topography around Oahu looks equally fantastical. I absorbed as much as I possibly could and committed it to my memory and my iCloud account. Interestingly, Uber rides were cheaper than what I'd expect to pay in Charlotte, North Carolina, yet the gas on Oahu costs almost $2 a gallon more. Taking lots of Uber rides helped us learn more from the Hawaiian people about its people, their ancestors and history. And I realized that the land, the people, the experiences, they just fed my soul on a whole different level. I'm so thankful for how all the pieces came together and for the rejuvenation I'm still experiencing from a buried bucket list item and time with a dear friend.